So the end of the month is upon us, and for the first time in a long time, we're getting a monthly reward card. Happy Halloween, everybody! We went trick-or-treating, and we came back with a new monthly card. Now, this card is a mage card. Mage and archer were both overdue. This time up it was mage, and the card that we got was Altmer Dragonknight. This is a 3-cost mage creature. It's a high elf, hence the Altmer. It's a 3/2 that says at the end of your turn, if you played an action this turn, Altmer Dragonknight gains +2/+2. Wow. This thing has the potential to get kind of bananas very quickly if your opponent does not have an answer. So, being that this is in mage, your obvious homes for it are mage and or tribunal. This is more aggressive. So this is going to be something in an aggressive deck, a tempo deck, maybe some form of like a mid-range deck, but it's certainly less likely to be a control tool. So the ways that you would likely want to use this, in my opinion, would be in either a tempo-ish mage or a tempo-ish tribunal deck, where you're going to get its trigger out of cards you would already want to be playing. I don't think you want to go ham and just cram in all of the actions. Not to say that action mage isn't an archetype, and this certainly fits in action mage, but I think the best way to get value is to just be playing the cards that you already want to be playing. So this card is great with Firebolt or Execute, right? If you pair this card with one of those, you're essentially paying 4 for a 5/4 and getting the effect of another card that you already wanted to play, hopefully in that situation anyway. And a 5/4 for 4 is pretty solid stats, right? Granted, that's 2 cards you have to invest, but still not the end of the world. The real high roll potential is if you do want to start including cards like Lesser Ward, playing this on turn 3 or turn 2 with the ring, and a Lesser Ward means you end up with a 5/4 warded creature. That is really, really good, and there's not a lot of ways that people can deal with it. Sorcerer's Negation will be a popular option. I've actually been seeing a lot more Mummify on the ladder as of late, and I'm not 100% certain why. I suspect it has something to do with the fact that it's a pseudo answer for Corner Club Gambler, and that it also is a way to not take damage from Sower, and Warrior has risen in popularity. But I have been seeing Mummify. Mummify would get rid of your 5/4 ward, but yeah, not a lot of ways to deal with it that early. Edict of Azura is another way that people can deal with it semi-early on, but a 5/4 ward with the potential to snowball further, mind you. So if you're somebody who started playing this game recently, you may not remember a time when Action Assassin was king. There was a time when Crystal Tower Crafter was a 2/2 that got +1/+1 for every action you played, and that one was also kind of powered by Lesser Ward. The idea was on turn 1, if you used the ring, or on turn 2 just naturally, if you played an early Crystal Tower Crafter, you slapped a Lesser Ward on it, you got a 3/3 ward creature that had snowball potential. The ward made it hard to kill that early. It's a big body. You start either making value trades or going face, and then it's going to get bigger the more stuff you naturally play. This is, similar territory, right? If you play this, you get the trigger, you get your 5/4. If it's a 5/4 ward, for example, even better, and then maybe next turn they've dropped a guard, you lightning bolt that, you swing for your 5, it's now into turn, and this thing jumps up to a 7/6 at that point. It can get out of control very, very fast if they don't have answers. There are answers that exist. This is also the kind of card that requires you to invest in it for it to snowball. So if they do have an answer, you may find yourself down on resources, low on cards in hand, because you have to keep playing things to keep getting the triggers. That might be a bit of a trap with this card, because Mage does not have as many card draw opportunities as some of the other classes. You do still have Besmirched Crusader. You've got potentially tomes off of Daggerfall Mage, for example. If you're running a more tokeny action-based Mage, and you're trying to maybe get triggers with Scouting Patrol and things like that, you might be running the 2/1 creature that will let you draw a card if you have willpower creatures out, things like that. But again, if you're just straight like a mid or a tempo mage, you can find yourself low on resources if you're trying to go all in with this creature. So maybe pay attention to that. Yeah, Altmer Dragonknight is certainly good enough that I expect to see it on the ladder. People will want to play test with it at a minimum. You know what? A 3-2 for 3 isn't the end of the world. It's not ideal. If you don't get the trigger right away, it does die to Firebolt. It does die to a lot of 2-drops, even some 1-drops. That's not great. But it's not the end of the world either. Paying 3 for anything that swings for at least 3, if you're trying to play some sort of aggressive deck, is okay. But yeah, I mean, you really want the trigger with this, and that requires investing cards. Again, hopefully it's stuff that you already wanted to play, but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how viable this ends up being, especially because of the prevalence of Sorcerer's Negation. Sorcerer's Negation is the sort of card that can easily get a lot of value if you overinvest into Altmer Dragonknight. Now, the good news, I guess, maybe silver linings, consolation prize, is that if they use negation to kill your Dragonknight, they probably don't have a second one, and you can safely play your Daggerfall Mage. Maybe that is the other strategy. Maybe you lead with Daggerfall Mage on 3, and then if that gets the Sorcerer Negation treatment, you can play this when you have 4 Magicka available and pair it with one of your 1-cost actions. That could certainly be reasonable. Yeah, I'm curious to see how much of a presence this ends up having on the ladder, because it has a lot of weaknesses and it has a lot of snowball potential. So I guess only time will tell. But I do think it's good enough to at least see some play. You should expect to run into it at a minimum from time to time on the ladder. So I want to know what you think. How do you plan to use the card if you're going to use it at all? Do you think it's enough to push Mage back into playability? If so, what version of Mage? Are you going to play it in tokens, like I said, and maybe use Scouting Patrol and some of those things? Maybe the Crassius Favor, things like that. Are you going to just try more tempo-y Mage, almost similar to what Santa's Vela took to the QuakeCon Master Series? I think it fits fine in both of them, so I want to know what you're going to try, if you're going to try, or if you're just going to continue to play Telvanni and hope you draw Sorcerer's Negation. Anyway, thanks for watching. It's exciting to finally get monthly reward cards again. Until next time, may you walk on warm sands.